Welcome to Spirit Change Radio.
Okay, listen.
I'm Josh. This is Alan. That's Pete and Sarah.
You keep seeing this button around town or around the country or around the world. Now that's not what we said, Simon. That's it for Spare Change.
Welcome back to Spirit Change Radio. This is episode number 6. Here we are. It's a bit of a different time this episode because we don't have Sarah, we don't have Alan, but we have, me, and of course we have Jinko Man.
Jinko Man 003.
Last time we uncovered that Pete's first screen name was Jinko Man, and I want that to be a thing so badly to keep it going. I think a lot of people learned about Jinko through you, Pete, so maybe it's time to bust it back out.
Well, Adam Fitz did say something about, he tagged you in a post to get my attention from somebody wearing Jinkos.
There was some sort of like police article about someone that was arrested and they were caught wearing Jinko jeans, and that was how they identified them. And he was like, "Was this Pete? Was it Jinko Man?" So you didn't get arrested recently, did you?
No.
All right, good.
No, I definitely wouldn't wear Jinko jeans if I was gonna do something that would cause me to possibly get arrested, because that's way too easy of an item of clothing to identify. Right. Jinko jeans.
Plus, it's tough to run with all that extra clothing.
No, there's no way. Especially if it's wet outside. Now your pants already weigh 5 pounds more because they're soaking wet.
I love the experience you're speaking to me with. You're like, it's not even hypothetical. You're like, no, it's not a good attire to wear when you're committing a robbery. I don't know what you'd be doing. So our boy Alan is still overseas. Last time we checked, he was in France. But what we're going to do is give him a call right now, and we're going to see where he's at. So let me give this a shot, and hopefully it works. Pete with the hookup, the technical know-how. All right, let's give this a shot.
Yeah, you volume up.
Ooh. Sounds nice. Alan.
Hello. Yo.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
All right, you're live with Pete and Josh.
Hi, Alan.
No, Sarah?
She's upstairs. She's working on something.
Oh, she's making snacks.
She's making a meat tray. Meat broads.
With a Z.
Dude, I could go for some fucking meat right now.
With the Z? Where are you? Wait, fill us in, man. I never know. Where are you now?
Right now, I'm in Bratislava, Slovakia.
Oh, you're in Slovakia.
Yeah, just for a day. I was supposed to be here for 2 days, but I got fucking hung up at the Hungarian border for 13 hours last night.
Did you get in trouble?
No, the guy sitting next to me did, though. He got detained. I almost got detained.
Just by being near him?
Yeah.
Tell me more about this.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have a passport. He had his EU card. So then the Hungarians were and he didn't speak English. He spoke French, and they didn't speak any French. So
was this a friend of yours?
No, I didn't know the guy.
Oh, okay.
No.
I'm sorry, man. I don't know who you're traveling with. Are you traveling alone to Slovakia?
Yeah, I am alone now. So I'm going to be alone until January 15th now.
What's the schedule there? What's the reason for this trip?
It was just on the way.
You're like,
I can add Ukraine tomorrow night.
You're going to Ukraine tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Jeez, man. Crazy time to be doing this trip right now, given what's happening in the world.
I'm not going to Iran. I'm going to Ukraine.
Yeah. Have you heard anything about Ukraine in the news lately?
No.
Okay. Maybe you want to check it out. So, tell us more about your trip. How you feeling?
Oh, what do you want to know?
How far into it are you now?
Oh, not very far. 2 weeks of 3 months.
So crazy.
It's not very long.
Do you feel detached from the United States, or do you feel like you're still...
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't feel like I've been home for years.
Wow. And are you with people you know, or are you meeting people along the way?
For the past few weeks, I was with people I knew. I saw my Italian cousins for Christmas, and then I spent a few days in Belgrade, Serbia, and a few days in Budapest, Hungary with some buddies from the Legion.
And are these all places you've been before or no?
No, they're all new places.
So we're going to add some tattoos to the arm.
Yes, we will be adding, as of right now, 5 tattoos to the arm.
Wow. Big stuff right there.
No, maybe 6. I don't know.
So where did you celebrate New Year's?
New Year's was in Budapest.
And what was that like?
Oh, gosh, that was Do you want the actual story?
Yeah.
So my buddy from the Legion threw a house party at his friend's house, and then we played a lot of beer pong. Hungarians don't know like American drinking like habits, so I was like teaching them to open up beer cans with their mouth and like shotgun beers. And, like, and then I met this girl, and we got along super well. We like knew all, like, which was like, it was crazy because we knew all the same songs, even though she was like from Hungary, and they were all like American songs. So we were like singing all night. And so
Piano
over
Man.
Valentine's Day, no, not Piano Man, like a lot of Queen.
Okay.
And some Aerosmith. We didn't get the Piano Man. They took the phone away from us. They didn't like our music.
So you've been basically like sharing American culture, American drinking culture as you travel.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like I party hard, but you haven't partied with like the guys from the Legion. I couldn't keep up. I was tired.
You're the old man on the block.
Yeah.
And I saw you did your first beer bong today.
Yeah, it was my first.
That's surprising to me.
I had to do it back to back. I had to do 2. Yeah.
I like how you say I had to. Yeah, it was a tough day. And how'd you like it?
It was fine. I mean, it was beer. I like beer. I was happy with it.
Well, that's good. Well, we're happy that you're doing well. I've just been plugging away here back in good old Pittsburgh, working on the website. Not quite done yet, unfortunately. It's just hard to find time right now. My days
Tomorrow, right? It's supposed to be live.
It's supposed to be live tomorrow, which is by the time this episode comes out, it might be. I'm gonna throw
3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, no, this will be a week from tomorrow, right? That's the plan.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to hustle this one, Pete. I need a little bit more time, but I'm gonna throw up like a mailing list sign up on the website right now. Like, website coming soon. Sign up to be notified. We'll start like that, and then boom, it will be live. A lot of changes coming to the website. Been working on a lot to try to like connect these dots of everything that's happening in the network. A section about the podcast, a better explainer about what the heck we are doing. About us page that goes back to the history if you want to know about how Spirit Change started. Merchandise.
How to get involved.
Clothing. We're going to have like a winter clothing pack for people to check out. How to get involved. How you can support us if you should choose to do that. So there's going to be a lot coming. It's just trying to make, a website. Hats off to people that make websites. It's tough stuff. Every time I like learn a new thing, I almost have to like not start over, but like it connects so many different dots to like make all these things work together. So I'm learning as I'm doing it, and hopefully I'm pulling it off. We're gonna find out tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
So Alan,
for whoever's listening,
we're gonna give Brett a call here now to check in on him, how he's doing since our competition. But before we go, how about you leave us with some words of wisdom from
some words of
Slovakia?
wisdom from Slovakia. Always stay below the beer bong.
Stay below the beer bong. Yeah. Did you learn that the hard way?
No, it was very, very specifically explained to me.
Oh yeah. Well, at least they're taking care of you over there, giving you the. And what time of day is it right now?
Right now it's like 2:30 a.m.
Oh, man, thank you for calling in. We appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. I figured I would just drink until you guys called me. So
hey, that's perfect. Wait, are you still slamming beer bongs?
No, I'm gonna go to bed after this.
All right, man. Have a good night.
I went
Thanks
for a
calling.
12-kilometer run after I got here.
Jeez, man, putting that work. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Good night,
Bye.
Alan.
Bye, Alan.
Bye. There's Alan.
Man,
doing it.
Comes with free sound effects too.
Yeah, right. We're good to go for the podcast. Yeah, man, it's good to check in with Alan. I couldn't. 3 months right now living abroad is what he's doing, and that's bizarre to me. Just to have the juxtaposition of his life between summertime Alan and wintertime Alan, where he works these like 12-hour days, and then all winter long he's just gone.
Yeah, I mean, I can obviously identify with being gone for months and months at a time from like deployment, but it's like working. I couldn't imagine having that much freedom in a country and
being alone.
Yeah, and like
especially
that.
I'm going to go to Ukraine tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And honestly, like it's a weird time just to be an American abroad. I mean, I'll just say it from what I can
agree,
tell.
for sure.
I was wondering what your take on that would be. I don't want to get too heavy right now on the podcast, but there's a lot happening.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'll keep that opinion myself. I don't think it's anything like too negative. I'll just say I think that the stuff in Iran was eventually going to happen. I think it should have happened a better way than how it did. But I mean, it's tough because there's a lot of negative opinions about war, obviously, and being I was in the Marines for 8 years. I still have negative opinions about it, but I have positive ones too. And the biggest positive opinion that I have about it is if we don't do it over there, we're going to have to do it over here. And how much do we want to risk and how long do we want to wait until it does come over here and we don't do anything about it? So, I mean,
it's tough, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was freshman or sophomore in high school when 9/11 happened. So we're still in those wars, to a degree, at least we're still over there. So it's just a crazy feeling. And now being a father on top of that, it's just like, whoa, it hit me differently. This, and who knows what's going to happen next? We really don't know. I mean, by the time this show comes out,
I mean,
it's
who
a
knows
week.
what the heck's going to happen at this point.
We don't want to get too heavy. This is not a political show. Leave your comments off the YouTube page. Is not what we're here for. Really, we're here to be and spare change in general. Like the idea of this thing is like there's a lot of negativity in the world. Clearly, there's so many people that are at odds with each other all the time. So if we can just be one positive thing to say, like, look at all these amazing musicians and the great work they're doing, that's a win in my mind. And let's be the positive part of that. Let's try to make our stuff. Although, we're just normal people. We're not like there's no halo around our heads or anything like that. But like the fact that we have a chance to like do some good in the world, I'm just happy that we have that opportunity through this. So speaking of opportunities that are being made, our good friend Brett Trottier, we're going to give him a call next. Sorry, this is like the phone call episode, but well, let's be honest. There's a lot to talk about with Brett. We had our competition. The competition was who could raise the most money by the end of the year. And I was raising money for 412 Food Rescue, and Brett was raising money for Sierra Club. And the loser would have to do one show with their bucket, and fundraise for the winner's charity. So I want to hear about Brett and hopefully see what his plans are for. Oh wait, I'm FaceTiming him.
Uh-oh.
Hey,
What is up? What's up, dude?
how you doing, man? I wanted to make sure that
good,
I was
man.
recording my screen. It's good to see you. What's up?
Yeah, you too, man. Nothing much, man. Just working on my new job, working on some music here and there. Nothing crazy.
Happy New Year.
You too, man. And you too, Pete and Sarah. And,
Sarah's
music
not here,
questions.
but Happy New Year, man.
Yeah.
Sarah's upstairs. You just got Pete and myself. Alan's in Slovakia, we just found out. No big deal. Just traveling to Slovakia.
They're conquering all of Europe.
Meanwhile, back in Pittsburgh, we wanted to check in with you, man. You've been playing a lot. First of all, I saw the show at Thunderbird Cafe. That looks sweet. The holiday show.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was cool.
Dude, those fireplace TVs were just amazing looking.
Yeah, Ryan Haynes, also known as DJ Afterthought. He's the one that let me come on board, and his team built this shed too, and the windows were like iPads or also TV screens. And on the TV screens, you could see him reading in the shed, in the house.
Oh, whoa.
It was like a winter scene. It was so cool.
That's sick.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole stage was sick. It was awesome.
And speaking of sick, how sick was that competition we just did?
Shut. I'm gonna hang out, dude. I thought we weren't going to talk about this, but
I mean, that's
okay.
the main reason we had a call is to
it's still a sore subject, but we could talk about it a little bit.
Well, all right. So you had a very firm lead on me.
Dude, I was so confident. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to lose. I'm so excited. And then you just pulled out a miracle out of nowhere.
All right. So what did you end up with?
I got pulled up.
900.
900?
It says 853
Oh, it says 853 right
on
now.
Spot Fun.
We got to get you that stuff.
I mean, I donated, but 900.
Okay. So 900. And I was about a little below that. I was like 820 or 850 or something, right? So I got to tell you the craziness that happened because it was a lot of it was out of my hands. Well, first of all, we made that promo video, which I think set the fire pit on fire, literally, because they were like pumped up. So I was like, okay, I have one show in December. This is my last chance to actually pull it off if I'm ever going to beat you. And honestly, I'll tell you what, I was cool with not. Like, I'm like, whatever happens. So the one thing we tried out was from the Common Heart, who had sold shows at Stage AE, I was like, could we sell T-shirts? And 412 Food Rescue came through and gave me a bag of shirts. And so at the show, I pull up and I'm like, all right, well, maybe, first of all, what happens if a musician of, our-ish level was playing a bar restaurant, has a nonprofit shirt with nothing to do with me, but just has them available? Would people at a bar buy them? Because they told me for 412 Food Rescue that, they give them away to volunteers and things like that. They don't sell them that much because people aren't knocking on the door and buying the T-shirts. So I said, that's a cool thing to try out for us in the network to learn from. And so I got to the show, and what happened was I walked in, and the owner, who's fantastic, Tina, walked up to me and said, hey, I got money for you. And she handed me like $113 that she had collected before the show even started. And I was like, okay, because they had seen the video. And then she walked away and came back with $75 more. Wow. And I was like, all right. And so that happened before I even played a single note. And I was like, okay, tonight's going to get crazy. And so I start playing, and I'm like, I pushed the bucket probably way too hard. I got to go easy this month with it, because I was like walking around the bar. But yeah, I ended up with like a little over $400 in one night. And I'm telling you, like, first of all, fantastic place, the Fire Pit. I can't say enough good things about them. But like, it's not Stage AE. And that's what was, and most of the people that came there did not come with the intention of making a donation or buying a T-shirt, but they did. Sold like 5 shirts that night.
Wow. For
$20 a pop, so $100 there. And but I guess the point being, outside of the competition stuff, the point being is like that money is available in a bar restaurant, and if you create the opportunity for people to make an impact, they'll do it. They want that opportunity. And
yeah, that's a really good point.
And then to know that it can get, okay, listen, you're not even gonna get $100 every night. I know this. You might get $10 sometimes. I've done that. But just to know that the possibility at a place like that is there, it also goes to show you what could happen at a place like Stage AE if people are in the loop and know what's going on. So that's what's kind of exciting. And the T-shirt thing was just a way for us to see, like, does the Common Hearts move work at a lower level, smaller level? So guess what I'm trying to say is, when's your show this month?
Whatever you want, man.
Do you have anything scheduled?
I got I think 5 shows this month. 3 at Bridges and Bourbon, 2 at Parlay Lounge, and 1 at Helltown. And I think Helltown might be the move.
That'd be sweet.
But dude, you got to get me one of those shirts if you have any extra.
Oh, dude, yeah, we'll hook you up. And plus, 412 Food Rescue wants to try to come to your show.
I'm completely fine.
They want to come like rock out and be like, yeah, Brad. And I'm going to come too. And so, yes, make sure you send me your dates for this month, and we'll post them so people can know where they can find you. And we'll figure Helltown show, whatever one it is for 412. I'll give you the sticker for the bucket too, so you can put that on top.
Yeah, for sure, man.
It's a magnet.
Dude, that's great. You have to have like one of the biggest donations so far, right? I mean, like comparatively speaking, like to the Stage AE venue and like stuff like that.
Yeah, I think right now I'm something like second behind the Common Heart, I think, currently. And I'll tell you what, it's crazy. So the beginning of this year, what I was doing was I'd take my bucket to my shows and I would make money and I would give it to whatever band's page seemed to need it the most. So like I've donated, this is not me, I'm not trying to brag, I'm just telling you what's been happening. I donated to like Sheila E's thing. Okay. Right. I donated to Wall Therapy for Giant Panda Gorilla Dub Squad. That was my way of kind of getting them to be like, yo, listen, you can fundraise for a Rochester nonprofit here in Irwin and get $120. And so I was doing that as a way to like help. But then I realized that probably the best thing I could do is just to be another proof of concept of how an impact can be created. And so I really only started fundraising for 412 Food Rescue regularly around the end of summertime. And so that's why I'm so excited about this year right now, is that if we can all, keep chipping away, where we could be at this time next year would be wild to think about. So it's definitely a work in progress. but like it's just so cool to have like you right at $1,000, just right almost there, and then Knox Boys right there, and we're going to talk to Byron Nash today, who's newly joined of this new phase of Spirit Change. So we're going to hear about how he's going to, take on the charge from American Cancer Society. So things are falling into place right now. But listen, Brett, it's been great, man. I like our friendly competition, man. And it's the first time we've had a challenge within the network. So thanks for being a part of it.
I don't know how you did it. You threw a Hail Mary pass. That's so hard.
That's exactly. Well, I knew I only had one shot. It wasn't like I had 3 shows. And I was like, this is it. This is the time.
See, I was like, one show. Oh my! I'm just gonna walk. I might not even collect donations. you just whooped me, man.
Well, I can't let you go without mentioning the craziness happening in Australia right now with the environment. And
no, man, I'll be talking for 30 minutes. You don't want me to talk about.
Well, I just want to say, like, it's crazy when you see these things happen in the world and how extreme it can get. And I know that you probably feel. I've seen your Instagram posts where you clearly state your connection to this cause, and it probably feels sometimes like it's falling on deaf ears. Like, hey, like no, like this is all fun and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's a serious problem. So I just want you to know, like it's really inspiring to see someone creating an impact, and using the platform to do it.
Yeah, and to go off of that, honestly, I am super thankful for this organization, because it's one thing to be an Instagram hero and post like, yo, the bad is happening.
Yeah.
Okay. Communication and addressing the problem is one thing, and that is very important. But, something like this and helping out even places that nobody would even think about, like that, this one chapter in West Virginia, that goes a long way. And it's because of this organization. So
hey,
give yourself a pat on the back too. Just posting something on Instagram is just the first thing that you could do. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that very much. And it's funny, when we first met Giant Panda up in Rochester, when we filmed episode 13, they're so aware that in troubled times they get an opportunity to play music. And James from Giant Panda said something to me when we were interviewing him, and he was talking about how like it's tough because they're like, why should we get to play music when we're at war? And they called that out, and I remember thinking about that. Like, I know that feeling of, it's almost like guilt in a way. Like, it's like people are taking up the charge in different ways that they can make an impact and do these things. But as a musician, you try to take something from the fact that you're making people happy and enjoying the moment and having a good time, which is a lot. It means a lot to people to be able to go see a show and take their mind off things, for sure. But for the musician, there's definitely times when you're like, hey, am I making a difference? Am I doing the most I could? So, I mean, that's my hope, is that Spirit Change becomes just like a small way. And it really is literally change. Like, it's like pocket change. No one's asking for these crazy amounts, but if it just makes people feel like they're part of something and having this communal moment at a show where they can say, hey, not only did I get to see Brett, I got to like pay it forward in a way that mattered. So thank you. We're going to come to your show. I can't wait to see how much money you raise for 412 Food Rescue and add that to my total.
Me too, man. You get the bucket, you walk around. It'll be fun.
Oh yeah, dude. I will be championing it at your show. I can't wait.
It sounds good.
All right. We'll talk more soon, man. See ya.
Take it easy. See you guys.
See ya.
All right. Let me tip my phone off screen record. I got a couple pop-ups from my wife about my daughter not going to bed, so hopefully it's not the podcast. Okay, so we've talked to Alan, we talked to Brett, and there's nothing left to do but introduce our guest for episode 6, Mr. Byron Nash. Byron, come on, slide on down the couch, my man.
How's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Dude, you've got a good voice for this, man.
Someone told me that.
I really do. I don't think I've heard you through the headphones like this, not singing or playing in the band before. So
you can pull that closer to you if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that? Better?
Oh,
yeah, that's great.
Cool. Perfect, man. So have you been on podcasts before?
Yeah, I've done a few.
You've done a few? Mm-hmm. I feel like you've become such a staple in the Pittsburgh scene. People know you without even knowing you.
Good.
Have you had a lot of people be like, "Oh yeah, I know who you are"?
I get that, but I never know what it's from.
So
it could be from music, it could be from bartending, it could be from something I did 20 years ago.
And so you were just bartending earlier tonight, right?
No, I was I was Swiffering my house and listening to like success podcasts.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
Getting inspired. I thought you said you were at the Abbey earlier.
That was last night.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So I guess it was today because I didn't get home till 3.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, that life you're living right now, I mean, I know of it because we go back a little bit now, but like that, it's such a crazy feeling, I bet, to go from one extreme to the other and be turning it on and off.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you leave the bar and go back to music mode that you're changing at all? Do you feel like I'm like putting on the Superman cape now, or does it feel like you're the same person throughout?
No, it's the same thing, but in a different way. But I realize I have to figure out how to turn off the work part because it demands a different part, different energy and different focus.
How do you turn it off?
Music, listening to a lot of music, quiet time, exercise, things that are outside of what I normally would do.
Yeah.
I read a lot right now. Like I'm just devouring books. Really focus on the like personal development and career development. And I'm like rebranding my whole life right now. So it's not that hard to like leave work and like leave it there now.
I feel so, just to connect some dots right now, we filmed your episode of Spirit Change of our old model. It had to be around, I mean, it was like the end of summer, like August, September. I think it came out in October during Breast Cancer Awareness Month because it was for American Cancer Society. And at that time, first of all, let me say, like, everyone that knows you kind of equates you with like, he's like the guy that hustles and, you know, he's everywhere. And you put us to a test back then because you were everywhere. And before we had this new model of keeping the bucket at multiple shows, you did it way back then. You were like, okay, I have this show, I have that show. Can you come to this one? And we literally ran from the first Fresh Fest Beer Fest over to downtown.
There was something in the East End the same night.
It was Gina's event, Gina Wenzel's event, and over in the East End. So like we literally left, ran over the next one, and you did it again. And I remember back then being like, wow, this guy is like, it wasn't, you see people's Instagram posts of the reality they create online, and then you meet someone in real life actually doing it. And that was pretty wild to experience. And then from then till now, I feel like you've been in the lab. Like you've been like you said, like kind of like rebranding your life right now.
Yeah.
And so how close are we to the big reveal?
I'm closer than I've ever been, but it's funny because I feel like I'm at the beginning of everything because I've never been a solo artist. I've always been in a band, and I've always sort of pushed that thing. I think for me it was easier to push something that was a collective.
Yeah.
That it was like a team or a group effort. Even if I was pushing the hardest or like the hardest in one area, it was easier for me. But when I had to like step back and like identify who I was when that was gone, that was sort of like a soul searching thing more than it was a rebranding of my career. I'm like, oh no, what am I? Like,
who am I without this band?
A little bit, because it was easier. Like I knew who I was within the context of it.
Right.
I was doing a little bit of solo stuff, like acoustic things here and there, and like playing, solo guitar gigs and stuff. But I mean like all the way in. Yeah. I've never gone all the way in.
Yeah.
And in saying that, not because I never gave a lot of effort, because I've always, had the effort for what I was doing, but I mean all the way in on myself for music alone.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah.
And such a shift is created when, I'm kind of the same way. I always had played in bands. And I don't know what it was for me. I just felt like I wanted that camaraderie. And also I think it was partly like, I know it's going to sound silly with the Spirit Change and all these cameras on me right now, but like, I don't want to be the guy. I just want to be a part of something. And in my ideal scenario, I'm working with people that are all as inspired and as capable and doing things as I am. And we're all doing it. Like that's the dream scenario. Yeah. But, you start to realize that, everyone doesn't have the same talents or the same skill set. Or
the same goal. You might start in the same place, but that doesn't mean, 6 months down the road,
changes.
Your drummer has the same motivation for what your new vision is, and if the vision changes within the context of the band, then you start to pull in different directions, and then your hustle becomes like, it's like a treadmill hustle. And I always told myself, if I'm going to work this hard to sell this many tickets and no one's going to do it, and I'm not saying that nobody did work,
I know,
but I mean like kind of care about what it's going to take to do that the same way, then I might as well invest that energy into myself. And that was sort of like a ongoing growing thing over years, because I got good at promotion and I got good at marketing. I got good at selling tickets hand in hand, like, oh, I'll drive to your house. Cool. I'll be right out there, you know, and figuring out creative ways to kind of rebrand and like promote. But then when it came to myself, I didn't even know what I was promoting. And like, even still now, people are like, so, you know, the first question, what kind of music are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm just music, you know, and that's like the answer I'm giving, because the music I'm making right now, I guarantee anyone who knows what I've sounded like or how I play wouldn't think this is what I was making.
Really?
And that's why I'm so excited about it. But it's me all the way. That's the thing.
Yeah, probably more you than ever now, because
I don't have any holds barred. I don't have anyone who's afraid. Like, I'm not afraid to take a chance.
Yeah,
you know, like I'm kind of fearless about it now.
Yeah,
you know, before I think there were either insecurities or hang-ups or setbacks or whatever those things are that kind of keep artists from really elevating to the next level. Like, you know, when you get kind of close and then there might be something that holds it back, and then you kind of settle with that. Or if you're really striving and then you're around people who maybe aren't striving as hard, you like sort of dumb down your effort so you don't make them feel bad. And it's like, wait a minute.
Or you relax a bit because you're like,
you're doing all right.
I can take a load off a little bit because everyone's chilling, you know?
Yeah. But see, I don't think that way. Like, I never believe that there's time to take a load off. Like that right there, like that scares me more than jumping off the cliff and going all in.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like gearing down is like, whoa.
And I don't mean like a rest day so that you can actually go harder. Yeah. I mean like gearing down where you think you're in a position to chill.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
Yeah.
No. I'm getting stressed out thinking about it right now, actually. Let's just start tweaking. I'm like, ugh.
You're like, does not compute.
It doesn't.
So that transition of being, you know, I mean, you played in bands throughout your musical career. You know, when I met you, it was Byron Nash and Plan B. So you kind of were starting to become
that was like the beginning
more of a focal point. But now where you're at with this current phase where you feel like it's, so what was that transition like to go from that to where you're at right now, where you seem so comfortable with it? Were you always so comfortable? Or how did you get to that place of like, this is who I am music. This is like,
well, I guess because I realized I was always living that way, but I don't know if I was always pushing it into the world that way. You know, like I listen to as much music as I tell people, actually more than what, you know, they probably think I do. And I do work as much as probably more than what people think I do, you know, but in the band setting, you know, Byron Nash and Plan B, to me, it wasn't about me at all. That was just a name because we needed a name, you know, but really the transition came from like adversity, because my job, like I ended up jobless like overnight. So my last gig with Plan B was the day before Thanksgiving of 2018.
Okay.
And it was sort of like, all right, guys, let's not I don't want to book too many shows right now. Let's just kind of focus on the songs and kind of get into that songwriting mode and like use 2 months to like get it geared up. So we're not
time.
Because when I learned a valuable lesson, when you play too many gigs, especially locally or regionally, you end up, you're doing a lot of music and you're hustling, and you know, and I was moving, I was doing like great gigs, but I wasn't writing new stuff as much as I would like to, because I'm always practicing for the show. There would be like little dynamics in the set that you're changing and stuff, but I realized I was doing less music, even though I was playing way more shows. And I mean like focused music where I'm playing 3 hours, you know, where I'm really working on my skill set, where I'm working on lyrics, where I'm building a new catalog, where I'm just like that introspective, like one-on-one guitar playing. I wasn't doing that because I was promoting, I was hustling, I was getting all the gigs, I was managing the checks, I was paying everybody, I was literally the whole business of it and financing it. You know, I was making good enough money bartending that I just dumped it all into like ads and promos and shirts and you know, so that takes energy and that takes time. And then I realized, man, I'm not doing as much music as I want to do as an artist. Like
it's like, where's the time for the love of it?
Well, you have to create time. I think when people say they don't have time, I don't believe in that. I think it's an excuse.
I'm with you.
Everybody has time, but it's where you choose to put your time, right? So you got to look at your calendar for a week, and you look at every single day, and you take an inventory and say, how much time was I on Instagram? How much time was I on social media? And I don't mean promotion and like business. I mean work, like or bullshit. Like what was I doing? And you know, how much time did I spend at the bar? How much time was I with my girl? How much time was I at the gym? Whatever it is, I don't care what it is, but take an inventory of that time slot. And if you were able to catch up on 3 hours of like your favorite show, trim some time off of that.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to sacrifice your favorite binge watching show, but you tell me you don't have time, we're not going to have the same talk.
Totally.
We're not having the same discussion,
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with people doing that, but there's something wrong with people complaining about not having time to reach your goals when they're doing some other stuff.
And it's so common, man. You must hear it all the time. I know I do, where people are just like, oh, I'd love to do that if I just could find the time, or I'd love to, even just like,
You have to make time.
Exactly.
You just have to make it. And so, and I've always been pretty good at time management, but I guess my downside was like doing too much. Like sometimes I would take on like my to-do list on average was like 20 items a day. And now they usually say that you should have a smaller list because you don't want to multitask and do too many things.
Yeah.
But I would create like a bigger list knowing that it's probably not that feasible to get all 20 done.
Yeah.
But because I have a bigger list,
You'll create more of a chunk.
well, if I do 15 of those things instead of having a list of 5, I just move those other 5 things to the next day.
Yep.
And so I just felt like my productivity was higher and higher, but still I wasn't making time for playing music because I was doing all the other stuff. So now, once the band, it was sort of like a weird fade. It's just like people just kind of couldn't come to practice, and I had that like sinking feeling. I'm like, all right,
it's harder and harder too.
Yeah, and people are older and they have different directions and they're in other bands and all these things. So I always knew that was there. But then it just sort of seemed like it wasn't going to do its thing. And I had to make a decision. But within that time frame between November to January, I also lost my job. So I woke up I went to work and woke up the next day and I had like 15 texts saying that my job caught on fire. So I immediately was in like a bad situation.
Yeah.
So I lost my band. I lost my job.
Yeah.
And I was at my job for like 11 years. So there were all these other emotions that come along with like long-term things.
And
you know what I mean? And then
abruptly.
stress. Yeah, abruptly.
Yeah. And I
then
even
money.
remembered at the end of the episode we filmed with you, you're like, I need something more. Is like, I want something more, but I don't know what it is yet. I'm like, you had that even a little, it was like, I remember our walk back from the alleyway in Shady Side back to Alan's house.
Yeah.
And you were just like, you knew something was needed, but you didn't know what it was yet.
I didn't know what it was, but I knew I was like unhappy.
Yeah.
I wasn't satisfied, and for how much I was doing and accomplishing, it wasn't enough. And I don't mean in like a more way, like a greedy way. I just knew I wasn't even near what I think I could do if I really dialed it in.
Yeah.
So hitting that rock bottom, and I mean like, dude, it went from like being okay to like very close to like, am I going to be able to afford this place? And it like got real dire very quickly, and just things started unfolding, like car problems, this, that, and the other, and just like regular life stuff, And I remember feeling like really low, but what I did through that was I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to go anywhere. I don't have any money to go anywhere, so I would record for 6 hours a day, and I just stayed in my house, and I got way better at recording, and I started recording these ideas and trying different things, and I was just alone, like super alone. But I just threw it into the music, and then through that, little things would happen where like someone hit me up about possibly getting a song placed, and then it like made it to the second round for this show or this movie, and then it didn't happen. And I was disappointed, but that just kept moving. Yeah. And then it was just like chipping away at like each of those things was helping me sort of discover where I wasn't, as compared to like, you know what I mean? Like not in a bad dwelling way, but like, what am I doing wrong?
What do I want?
What am I missing? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like what am I, where am I messing up here? That accountability where not like in a negative way where you beat yourself down and
like, what am I mapping towards? Like, where am I headed?
Being very like blunt, honest, like, you're balling that up, son.
Yeah.
You should, the only reason why you're in this position is because a year and a half ago, if you would have like handled your money better instead, like when it was t-shirts and this and that, because I was in a position to do it. So some of that was reactive, right? And then I was gigging solo. So that was counterbalancing. Like I felt like everything was still okay, right? Because I was having like side money from the gigs, and I was getting like crazy gigs where I didn't have to sing, I didn't have to learn a cover. They were just like, do you? And I'd sit in a corner and play guitar and get paid. I'm like, wow, I did that in 2 hours. I would have had to work 8 hours to make that. Yeah. So I started thinking about time versus money. Right. But I also wasn't able to see the dynamic, and you just never know what's going to happen. So when that did happen abruptly, and I kind of like worked through the dark part and the bitterness and all that stuff, I just kind of looked at myself. I'm like, I will never be in this position again because this is my fault. No, it's not my fault that the place burned up, but anything related to that is my fault because I didn't use the foresight financially to be in a position. So if that happens,
dude,
that I'm never balled up again.
Crazy level of self-awareness and straight honesty with yourself.
Oh, it wasn't pretty. Like, you know, when you get to that, because I was that low, you know what I mean? And I didn't feel like I had people I could talk to about it, you know, and I was working still. I mean, there was a point by May, I had 6 jobs. I was up to 6 jobs at once. And I was like, well, this is a lot. like I was getting to certain bars and I would start to make a drink. And I'm like, nope, we don't even carry that here. Wrong drink. Because it was just too much. But I was willing to do whatever it took to crawl out of that to figure out what I needed to do, you know? And also I had like a couple people that were challenging me like, well, what is your music? Send me some stuff. And I'm like, man, I have thousands of pieces of music, but I don't know if I had something where I could show you who I am by myself. And that was an eye opener. Yeah. And then I realized, okay, that's because I've been in the George Harrison mode, which I consider as like when he and the Beatles were kind of having their thing, and he was just recording songs and he was stockpiling. That's
so awesome.
Not really even knowing what he was going to do with it. I've been doing that for 20 years. So I have 20 years worth of music stockpiled on drives and files and riffs and beats and drums and experiments. And a lot of it none of it was meant to be sold or, you know, it's like, oh, maybe one day I'll do something, you know what I mean? But it was really just ideas. It was for the love of music. Yeah. And now, you know, I had a colleague who was like, well, you need to turn it into like something tangible and like figure out what you want to do for you. And so I just got super focused each week, each day, have a setback, okay, move ahead. Yeah. But honestly, a turning point in all of that was I became a CrossFit coach. I got like certified for CrossFit. Yeah. And
you've been doing CrossFit for a while before that, right?
Yeah, but I it's weird. I don't think I would have asked my coaches about the class if I had still had my job at the time.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I would have like thought that was something
to add to your life at that point.
And it was just simply for the sake of like, I knew that they hosted like the training and stuff there. Yeah. And I asked about it and they helped me go through the classes and it was like super hard. And then you take a test and you don't know if you pass for like a month. Right. So you have like a month of just like, do I have to do this thing over? Because that sucked, you know?
Did you have to travel to take the test?
No, they hosted it at my gym.
That's great.
You know, so because of that, I feel like that helped open up a lot of doors. Not because I'm on some like, I don't even really coach classes there, but now all of a sudden I'm like, I have clients like on some personal fitness stuff and training things, which is sort of redirecting my focus for the music because I'm like helping people, but it's getting me in shape because there's an accountability to like, I don't believe in trainers who aren't in shape telling people what to do.
That's the number one rule. If you're getting some like fitness advice and the person's not.
Well, if it's one-on-one and people are paying you, I think that it has to be a part of your life.
So then it gave you a greater sense of accountability too, even though you've been working out. Now you're working out because I'm a coach and I better practice what I preach.
Yeah. I mean, there is some of that, but also I wanted to be on that level, but I think I needed something internal to make me want to be more on that level, you know, so that it wasn't like something I had to do. It was just something I was doing already.
And I mean, listen, I know people hear the word CrossFit and their eyes roll over. I'm sure you hear that too. I still do CrossFit workouts in my home gym. My wife's a CrossFit coach, or she's certified CrossFit coach as well. And I was very much in that life. And I will say one thing that carries over from those days to today is that you've in doing these crazy workouts that sometimes can be an hour long, you realize very quickly the importance of just getting one more rep or one more set and just turning around and executing again. Yeah. And when things go wrong, you just still got to keep doing it. Yeah. And that's how it works. So I think for me, where that kind of like is realized is, you know, every night after work and after I get my daughter to bed, I try to put in some time for spare change to do something. Yeah. And even though I know I might only have an hour or 2 hours, it's adding these reps and putting things forward. And that's how when people talk to me and they know all the things we're doing with spare change, they're like, how are you doing it? It's not as crazy as it might seem like, because it's just, you know, another foot in front of the other. But I learned that through, you know, having these crazy workouts that I'd have to get through.
There was a podcast I listened to today. It was with a Navy SEAL, and this dude just knew that he wanted to be a Navy SEAL. He had never even worked out before, or he didn't even know how to swim. And by the time he went through all the training and all the stuff, he did everything he could, and he took the test to be a SEAL for 4 months straight every week, the physical test, and didn't pass. Finally, he passes, gets through all the boot camp stuff on the very last day. Everyone's going out to graduation, and they tell him that he can't go because there's something wrong with his heart. And it was like all this disappointment. Long story short, the guy just didn't give up, ended up finding someone to do a surgery, ends up going all the way to the next level. And he was sort of talking about like finding himself through adversity, right?
Yeah.
And even in like, now he does those like super long overnight runs and all that type of stuff.
David Goggins?
I don't remember his name actually.
Sounds
but
like.
But I was thinking about that, and it is sort of the same thing. It's not that I just believe that when you're in those positions and you feel like you can't do anymore, you probably can do more.
Yeah.
Right. And I find that it's trickling down into other elements of my life. So it's not so much like I'm in shape, woohoo, you know, it's more about, okay, just getting there is like a win in itself. Right. And then willing to like kind of push yourself past the limit that you probably wouldn't have if you were on your own.
Yeah.
And having these like, I feel like in fitness and CrossFit, you actually fail more than you succeed.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't just bang out the reps and the weights and you have to learn that stuff. You don't just go in crushing unless you're already there. Right. And then you have PRs and little moments of
your own journey.
Yeah, your own journey, because like the guy next to you might be 1,000 times better, but you're all still doing the same workout. So just because he finished first doesn't mean he worked harder.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're at different levels. So I just feel like it's sort of the same thing in life, and it's aligning all of that, like the thought process and the discipline that it's like putting in all these other areas.
And it carries over into music completely, because you see these artists produce amazing works of art, and then you might get discouraged by it. You might be like, well, I can't make that. I can't do that thing, but you're not realizing the journey that they're on. And then when you think about making like an album, for example, which takes so much effort, all the tracks, all of how you're mixing it, how you're mastering it, how, you know, where should the cymbal go? All these little details from a high level, it can be so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it can be sometimes discouraging to an extent, but then you realize, like, you know, it's the same thing, is that you have to just begin.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with those failures along the way.
Yeah. They're actually like, those failures are, if you have the right perspective, they're actually just mini wins. But when you look at them as like straight failure, and like then you're sitting in the dumps about it, and you kind of go off the rails and take it, in the wrong direction. Well, then, you're probably failing,
Yeah.
But if you look at it as an opportunity to like fix it and correct and realign and just go back at it, that builds character. And I feel like that's trickling down into all the other stuff that I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like that the fitness thing kind of saved my life or anything, but I just found that like, if I had to look back on last year, it's really interesting that at my lowest point, I like had this big accomplishment, and I wasn't even like amped about it. Like I was just like, whew, I passed. All right, now what's next?
Right.
I didn't even know what I was going to do with it. It wasn't like I was really willing to, I had the time to even go and start coaching at my gym. Like I was working 6 jobs. Like it wasn't all like that, but it was just an accomplishment, a personal goal, a personal development thing. And now it's becoming a thing where I actually am making money off of it. And it's just kind of funny.
And it's also something about like little wins too. Like when because I mean, for people that have followed this journey of spirit change, it started when I lost my job. Yeah. And had one of those similar type of moments of like, what the hell am I going to do next? Mm-hmm. And in those moments, and even now, I'm trying to get back into the groove working out, and I've been working out a lot right now. I know it's like New Year's time, everyone's got resolutions, but you need those little wins set off a chain reaction. Yeah. And like, and is sometimes overwhelming as it can be to be like, I can't do all the things. Yeah. We didn't have camera gear, we didn't have audio equipment. Pete, we just took the iPhone and went out in the street. And if I would have been thinking back then about, well, it's not going to be great, and there's no effects, there's no nothing, it would never have gotten to the place it got to today, because these little wins happen along the way that start to add up over time. Yeah. And looking back now, you go, well, it makes perfect sense. But at the time, looking forward, I was like, I don't know where this is going to go. Yeah. Similar to your coaching thing. You're like, I just feel like I have a calling to do this moment. And now looking back, you're like, well, I never would have had that opportunity had the job not gone away.
No, I don't think it would have popped up in my head. And it's funny because it's not like it's something that's leading my life right now or anything. It's just like a new element of what I do. It's, now I can look at it and say, my whole thing is how do I transition out of the bar game so I can be all the way in on music? I know how to make money with music.
Yeah.
I know how to make money in general, but how do I make it on a bigger level? And this isn't a money chase. It's a transition out of that. So I need to create more time.
Yeah. You want to be
really
doing
about
more.
the time, right?
Yeah.
And so this is an opportunity. It's something that I actually already do.
Yeah.
If I have a client for an hour, boom, I can make this much money in an hour. So what if I have 3? Then I don't have to bartend that day.
Yeah.
And
so you get a lot of time back.
Yeah. And so then what would and I'm working out too. It's not like I'm just like telling them what to do. I actually do it with them.
Yeah.
But then there's other times I'm like, all right, this is what you're going to have to do, and kind of like get them through it.
Right.
But it's creating more time in my schedule. So, I can do more podcasts. I can read more books. I can practice more guitar. I can write more songs. Yeah. I'm in the studio twice a week right now, and it's like awesome. Yeah. And it's the most free I've ever been.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even take a guitar to the studio yesterday. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Especially
I'm the guy that travels with like 6 guitars. Just cause.
I mean, it's weird seeing you right now without the guitar.
I know. I feel kind of naked.
So part of your brand.
Yeah.
But that says a lot about what you're in there cooking up. If you can go there without it.
I'm pretty amped.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, the next session is going to be super guitar heavy, but I actually took a break. The last gig I played was, I got invited to play a private wine dinner for Smokey Robinson. Like,
what?
Yeah, like back in December, he had a wine come out.
Yeah.
One of the solo gigs that I do for like this men's club, and it's like cigar and wine guys.
Yeah.
And, dudes who are winning in the game,
right,
who don't necessarily need to be out in the world when they try to get together and have those talks.
Yeah.
Like they say that you're the makeup of 5 people you spend the most time with. And I think what was frustrating me.
No, I'm with Alan a lot.
Well, it's true. So I was getting frustrated.
I love you, Alan.
Because I bartend a lot. So what am I around? I'm around bar life. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to be like, hey, I know we're getting out here at 3, but I'll be at the gym at 8.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, you're freaking nuts, right?
Yeah.
But what if you're around people who are like, yeah, me too.
Right.
So then you elevate.
Yeah.
And so you end up kind of dumbing down your success or your drive. And I'm like, all right, I need to find this somewhere else.
People.
And so I remember I had this one gig, which kind of led to the talk and all that stuff, where they were just all smoking cigars, and I was just in a corner, literally just playing guitar for 3 hours.
Yeah.
4 hours, actually. And I wasn't eavesdropping. I just was so close to them. Like, they were closer than we are.
Oh, wow.
Like, I was in the mix.
Yeah.
But I was listening to pilots and surgeons and entrepreneurs and just their general conversation. So because I've played these gigs and also been respectful about their privacy and all that stuff, he was like, hey, are you available for the Smokey Robinson dinner? I was like, if I'm not, I am now.
Yeah. You don't say no to something like that. Mm-mm. So did you get to meet Smokey?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. When I say I played like for them for dinner, I'm saying he was sitting there and I was playing guitar for a table of 10.
And this was recent, right?
It's like 3 weeks ago.
So again, it's like back to that, like this new version of you that's happening. Like these opportunities are coming to you. It's
I think it's because I'm not. Someone said to me the other day, they're like, it's like, it's impossible unless you're doing covers to like play original music in Pittsburgh and make money. And I said, I don't believe that. And they're like, well, I mean, you figured out some ways and stuff. I was like, listen, I don't sacrifice anything when I'm doing with music. If I choose to play a cover, it's because I want to play the cover.
Yeah, it's a good point, man.
I'm not chasing that.
Yeah.
I think the perspective is wrong. I'm like, if you create some flexibility and some openness in what your musical style is, then like I can play anywhere. I could play a dinner party. I could play a rock show. I could play a jam band festival. I could play on the corner. I could play for elderly people. I could play for kids without ever sacrificing my identity. Yeah. So that's sort of where I was like, I think it's your perspective on what a gig is different. I don't really have that much desire to play any bar shows or just regular venue shows. Like I've done it. I've done that for a long time. Yeah. I don't think I'm above it or below it. It's not that. I just know there's other nooks and crannies of opportunity.
Been in yet.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, the reason why I got that gig was because I played a hotel gig, same thing, loop pedal, and the guy came up, he's like, "Hey, are you cheating?" I'm like, "No, I made that up right there." And because of that, I got the gig.
Right.
That's been
And it
over
never
a
would have
year.
happened had you not been in that first place.
So you got to take risk and do things that
So
are outside
much.
of your comfort zone, and that ends up becoming part of your identity. And that's why I'm getting these other opportunities. But not just because I'm like lucking out, I'm also actively putting myself in these situations that when I first started kind of doing that, I remember I was playing, I play hospital gigs and for like Children's Hospital and stuff like that through the Music Smiles program.
Yeah.
And when I first did it, it's like an hour and a half set. And the same thing. You don't have to have a mic or anything, and you're just kind of playing like background music. I was nervous because I'm like, I don't think I have this much music. Because like I had that much music like recorded and riffed, but I mean like
in the
organized,
moment.
like in the moment, play for an hour and a half straight. Because if the band's doing a whole set,
Vibe,
we could do an
jam it out
hour.
a
Yeah,
bit.
you know what I mean? Like, but also some of the riffs that I maybe would play in the band weren't necessarily like song. There's like
translate.
parts, and so I was like, man, it forced me to have to get better at playing longer and creating on the spot. Like I make stuff up all the time. Like I didn't have a set for that Smokey thing, and I played for 3 hours.
That's awesome.
And then they called me the next day, and they were like, "Can you play Friday?" And I was like, "Oh, I work." You know. So
and that's where you're trying to get to a point where you can just say yeah to that thing too, and keep letting those things build, because you're starting to get that flexibility that you may not have had before when you were doing the 6-job thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was just like on some survival stuff. I knew that everything had to be on hold for a second just to like survive.
Well, it's exciting, man. I mean, I feel like I got to see the old version of you with when we filmed the Spare Change episode, which was awesome. I mean, that was such a cool experience because it was the first time. I don't want to say it like that. You had such a personal connection to the cause through your grandmother and what she had gone through with her battle with cancer, which you told us about back then. And it was the first time we had an artist involved that communicated that, in such a way where it just made sense. Like that connection made sense that you would be the person for that cause. And it was great. And back then we just didn't have we didn't know what this thing was yet. And I'm sure we'll still learn what this is going to become. But to have you back in now in a capacity where with the bucket, we can create a bigger impact. Is fantastic, but also it's cool how the parallel is there from like the old version of Spare Change and the old version of Byron Nash to the new version of Spare Change and the new version of you that we're seeing today. And even at Light Up Night where we got to see you with that 3-piece, which that was so awesome to see the 3-piece.
That was fun. I wish we had like more time to like really dial it in, but honestly, that situation, which is really a stem from when I first got hooked up with you guys, led to that opportunity, right? And me taking other risks, like I'm DJing jazz records. Well, I wouldn't have been in a position to even talk to these guys and be like, "Hey, would you do this thing?" Because I would think they
probably wouldn't have even thought about it back then too. You've been like, "Well, I play guitar. Why would I?" But the new version of you is like,
guy.
"Yeah, let's go."
I'm like, "Hey, man, it is what it is. Let's try it. You know, if it works, cool. If not, that's cool too." But now I'm like, "Would you guys play on some tracks in the studio?" They're like, "We're totally down." So I can get these really high end musicians to come and elevate. It's kind of like the 5 people you're around. So I'm like, I play better because these guys are better, and I'm okay with being around people who are smarter, better, more, whatever.
Cool.
Like I'm not intimidated by that at all. I mean, I think that's the best way to elevate yourself. And I like that 10X mentality of, if this is where you would push yourself at your absolute hardest, why don't you set the goal 10 times higher than that? Right. Because again, sort of like my to-do list of 20, if you're pushing for here and you think that's you at your greatest, why don't you try for here?
Totally.
Because that percentage is going to be past that and you're going to start to excel faster in all the other areas.
It's so great to hear you say that too, because I'm sure people are listening right now that are hearing that and,
like I really do try to live by that.
I know you, so I know that's
I know really
that to be true. But even like the people that want to be like, how do I get to that point? If you think about something like a road trip, and if I tell you that the car ride's an hour and a half, by the time you hit the hour point, you're gonna be like, oh man, we're almost there. If I tell you if it's a 4-hour drive and you hit the hour and a half point, you're gonna be fine. And it's the same thing. It's just carrying that into your life and believing it in such a way that you're pushing yourself harder and not just accepting when your mind first says, okay, I gotta stop.
For example, I had a client the other day, and I've been working this into my warm-ups as a benchmark to see where you're at. I'm like, all right, I'm going to have you run suicides for 1 minute, go full tilt. I don't care what number you get. And then after that 1 minute, you get 30 seconds of rest, and then you're going to hit another minute, 30 seconds of rest, and you're going to that third minute. And, first minute, everyone's hot out the gate.
Yeah.
They're just like on some stuff. And then they come back for that 30 seconds, and they got the look in their eye, and I'm like, they're on almost catching their breath. I'm like, all right, go. And you can see like the panic set in, and they're not focused on counting. They're not focused on it. They're just like, this is the worst thing. Why is this dude making me do this? And I say, listen, you've only been exercising for a minute.
Right.
And it messes them up because I'm like, I said, you would have scrolled longer on Facebook than the effort you just put in. So don't tell me.
That's such a
So
good
true.
dig.
Right? You know
So
what I mean?
true.
I was like, you would have been online
gosh.
in bed for
A
longer
minute.
for longer than the effort you're putting into yourself.
Go
right
look
now.
at your screen time.
Right? That's your investment to yourself. And if this minute, come on.
Yeah.
You got more. And I'm like, what number did you get? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, all right, I think you got